Have you ever been talking about improving your posture or watching videos and then all of a sudden all you see are ads for standing desks? It's creepy, right? The technology underpinning this is called cookies, which you may know if you've ever read one of those cookie preference dialogues that open on every website. So let's learn a little bit more about cookies, what they're for and how they work. Let's step up from small talk on cookies and online privacy. Hi everyone, my name's David Delacruz and welcome back to Medium Talk. Medium Talk's a channel. It's all about giving you short, snappy overviews of different types of topics so that you can have more interesting conversations about it. It's not about pretending that you're an expert on the topic, but rather just giving you those key points. That being said, let's get into today's topic, cookies and online privacy. Now you might have heard of cookies before from clicking away on one of those cookie permissions on the internet, but what actually is a cookie? First, let's look back at the early days of the internet. When the internet first started, pages were all static. They just showed information and you couldn't really interact with them. But as the web became more interactive, you might want to be able to keep track of certain bits of information between browsing sessions, like maybe which news articles you've already read or what's left in your shopping cart. Engineers at Netscape, one of the OG web browsers, created something which they called a cookie. Essentially a small file that the website stores on your computer to keep track of some kind of information, like the last username that you logged in with. Specifically, these are what are called first-party cookies. They're called that because they're created by the website that you are visiting. Now, most people don't have a problem with first-party cookies. They make your experience on the internet more enjoyable and easier as a user. The problem started when online advertisers realized that they could use cookies to target ads at specific types of users. Now, the ads on most websites are not provided by the website itself, but rather by an advertising network like the one from Google, Facebook, or Amazon. When the ad is shown to you, it's actually able to store a cookie on your computer as well. And this is what they call a third-party cookie, because the cookie came from some other third service, not the website that you were actually intending to visit. Now, these ad networks are extremely large. Between Facebook, Google, and Amazon, they serve over 2 out of every 3 ads that people see on the internet. Because they're so big, they're placing cookies on all sorts of different websites that you're traveling through, and then they're able to actually reconstruct your browsing history. Now, because these ad networks are part of these tech giants, they can combine that browsing history with a whole bunch of other information that they already have about you, like your search or purchase history or your social media profile. They can then use this to build a really detailed picture of your demographics and your interests, even if you don't have an account with that service. This is why you get ads that are sometimes so relevant it feels creepy, like when you've been watching a bunch of cooking videos and all of a sudden you only get ads for the pepper cannon. This is what makes it seem like Google, Facebook, or Amazon are listening in on your conversations or even your thoughts, and then using that information to target ads towards you. It's also incredibly problematic when that targeted advertising is used to discriminate against or towards certain groups. For instance, when economically marginalized people only receive ads for predatory lenders. Another big issue is when third-party data is used to target advertising messages that aim to divide societies or disrupt democratic processes. The most famous example of this was when Cambridge Analytica collected voter data for the 2016 US election by using a game on Facebook. This enabled them to build really detailed profiles of people's race, gender, political leaning, sexual orientation in order to craft messages for them. Over the last 12 to 18 months, there's been a massive backlash against tech companies and their behavioral targeting practices. There's been several congressional hearings, and tech companies are slowly starting to change the way they do things. From mid-2019, Mozilla Firefox automatically blocked third-party cookies unless you turned them on, which changed them from an opt-out into an opt-in model. Just in the last few months, Apple released an update for iOS devices which also changed third-party cookie tracking from opt-out to opt-in. And guess what? Only 4% of people decided to opt in. Google has also announced that from 2022, the Chrome web browser will also be opt-in for third-party cookies. This effectively means the end for third-party cookies because between those three browsers, they cover almost 90% of all users. Now, does this mean the end of targeted advertising? Ultimately, probably not. Advertisers are already working on 3 different ways to target ads to you. Google is working on something that they call flocks, federated learning of cohorts, which essentially means using artificial intelligence to group you into a group of thousands of other people that have similar interests to you. Second, some online media companies like Insider, Vox Media, or BuzzFeed are so big in their own rights that they're actually able to create a pretty detailed profile on you using only their own first-party data, i.e. data collected on their own websites. Lastly, ad networks are working on a centralized advertising ID, essentially a unique identifier that can connect with your profile to link your interests and target ads based on that. Apparently this will be opt-out, but we've learned that most people actually never use their ad preference settings. So, depending on which of these systems works out, advertisers may have slightly less granular targeting, a lesser reach on the internet, or maybe not even much of a change from the status quo. Ultimately, this is the bargain of an ad-supported internet content model. If we don't want to pay for content, then we have to put up with ads. And the brands doing that advertising are going to want to track that their money is being spent in the right places. So what can you do if you don't want to be tracked? The easiest first step is to opt out of third-party tracking if your browser has not already done it for you. In Chrome, it's under security and privacy settings, look for ads, and you can switch off the third-party tracking there. You can also opt out of the advertising IDs on your mobile device, which are used to target ads to you on things that don't run through your browser, like mobile games. Look for it under ads on your Google settings on Android, or look for it under Apple advertising in your privacy settings on iOS. Now, if this video was sponsored by NordVPN or ExpressVPN, I might try and recommend to you that you use a VPN to protect your online privacy. However, it's not, and a VPN doesn't even stop a website from placing a cookie on your computer. So for that purpose, it's not particularly useful. Maybe stick to using a VPN to access Netflix from other countries. Well, that's it for my short overview of what's happening in the world of privacy and targeted advertising. If you do want me to keep covering these tech topics, what's happening in the world of technology, please do let me know in the comments down below. And I hope you guys learned something and are able to have some more interesting conversations. Until next time.